It's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. It's time for another episode of Life in the Movies podcast. I'm one of your co hosts. My name is Ryan Cam. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week, we are almost in the month of April of 2023, and it's time for another preview episode. Jacob and I are going to be covering all the movies coming out in April of this year. And then we're going to be reviewing Luke Cage Season 1, Episode 10. It's crazy to think we're almost done with Season 1. But first, I have to introduce my co-host, Jacob Martin. Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a really enjoyable weekend. Getting close to wrapping up the first quarter in the preaching school, and a really good time so far. I'll be starting the next quarter in a couple of weeks. I got to get through some final exams and some final papers, which is a little stressful, but it's still exciting. Learning everything, diving deeper into the Bible, and it's just been a great experience.
Yeah, that sounds great. With Easter coming up, I don't know. Do you all have like Easter plans, or is that just is that a special day at a pastor school?
Mm, actually, that week is actually our spring break, so it's
Interesting. You would think, considering, studying the Bible and all that, y'all would like do something for that. But I mean, if it's your spring break, then that's a get a
yeah,
thumbs up from me.
that's our spring break. Uh, I'll be going to a special event because we'll be promoting a gospel meeting for that week. But after that, I'll be heading home to my family before going back for the next quarter back in Virginia.
Well, that sounds great. Well, before we get too deep into the show, I wanted to spotlight this. By the time this drops on Wednesday, that same evening at 9 o'clock, Jacob is going to be with Joshua Drake from the Future Filmmakers channel. It's going to be a little bit of a hangout. Just looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, thank you for promoting that. This is the first time I've ever had a live discussion with him on my channel. We did a collab, I think, a couple of years ago. I think on my Christmas series when we did a collab on Die Hard, but this is the first time we've actually discussed face to face. So that's gonna be a really cool hangout. I'm pretty sure.
He's always sharing my stuff on Facebook. Like he and Aaron White are my unofficial marketing team for the channel. Like I say to
Yeah,
myself, oh well, marketing team's back up and running.
yeah,
So
yeah. I would
so
say the same thing with Josh on my channel. Like he's been sharing my videos on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media platforms. I think he really likes our content.
yeah, but I'm really am grateful for his support, and I am looking forward to seeing what that hangout is all about. But
Yep.
we have a lot to unpack with this episode, so let's dive right into some Luke Cage coverage. This is Luke Cage Season 1, Episode 10. I got the number right this time. And it's crazy to think that we are nearly at the end because this is 12 or 13, episode 13. So we're in the home stretch. But this episode is called Take It Personal. Luke gets closer to the truth about Riva and her part in his fate, while Mariah wrestles with the morality of her new role. Misty hunts for Luke. So there's a lot of moving parts going on in this episode. You got Luke Cage healed up and learning more about his past. We learn more about his past through flashbacks and how he and Diamondback are pretty much like this. They're attached to the hip. We learn that Riva might not be exactly who she says she was. We got Misty like closing in on a lead and seeing her captain kind of being like given a little bit more room, and then Mariah putting up more smoke and mirrors to distract from the fact that she's like wrestling with the fact that does she want to be the queen of Harlem or does she want to be the politician? I don't know, Jacob. What was your big takeaway from this?
Oh, there is a lot to dive into this episode, and I enjoyed pretty much all the subplots going on here, and all the obviously the main story is pretty good. I obviously Luke figuring out Diamondback, that guy, are pretty close. I like that we get the official confirmation that they are indeed brothers, which Diamondback, that guy said it, but Luke was in denial about it. So I'm glad that that's official confirmation. As far as the Reva storyline goes, that one was a little bit frustrating for me because they were making it like this big twist that she had more involvement in Carl Lucas becoming Luke Cage. When to me, it was kind of obvious from the get go, and Luke made it seem like this big betrayal that, oh, she doesn't love me, she was using me and manipulating me. I'm like, I'm not buying that for a second. I think she did actually love the guy, and she saved his life, for crying out loud. So that storyline kind of rang a little hollow for me personally. But to me, the more interesting stuff was the stuff with Mariah. The fact that, you know, she's really playing kind of like the dirty game as far as being a politician and, trying to fill in where her cousin left off, and really diving deeper into the politician aspect, the political aspect, like using Luke Cage as a scapegoat and driving the whole Harlem into a mob uh, to front like her political career. So very interesting undercurrent there that uh, really shows the dangers of a mob mentality. Pretty much, I enjoyed that aspect. Uh, Obviously, the action's still pretty good. I'm glad to see that Luke Cage is healed up. And I thought it was another really good episode. I'm hoping this season that does pay off and it's one of the better Marvel Netflix shows.
I think to bounce off of your Riva point, I think for Riva, it might have started out as business as usual, but then it just got more personal as the months went on. I think started out business, but then it became much more than that.
Yeah, that's what it probably is. I think it's one of those where Luke just saw a snippet of the video clips and just kind of assumed the worst about it. But we saw the flashback story throughout, and she saved his life, helped give him a new face, a new identity, and stuff. And you know, it's clear that she loved the guy. They had deeper feelings as their relationship continued to blossom. So her Luke Cage kind of backpedaling on that after the fact just seemed weird to me.
Yeah, I like the moment where Diamondback and Mariah are having their back and forth, and Mariah is like, you're out of control. I'm like, Mariah, you should have seen this coming. Like Diamondback is very unstable. So it was like it's no one's fault but your own. It's like that scene in The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent ends up in the hospital after the whole face burning thing, and Maroni's like, it's too much. And then James Gordon's like, you should have thought of that before you let the clown out of the box. It's very similar, it's similar scenes, is my point.
Yeah. Also, the fact that you have this guy Diamondback who's quoting the Bible, taking them completely out of context, and using that to justify his actions pretty much just shows how unstable this guy is.
Yeah, it also has a little bit more heft because technically his dad, Reverend James Lucas, was a preacher. So there's definitely added more oomph into that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and is like the aspect of the whole like Mariah basically stirring up the whole it's black violence, it is all of that. It's very clearly a smokescreen and just very much a distraction from what her real intentions are. But I still believe there's a mental war going on with her of what she truly wants, because her head wants to be the politician, but the heart and her destiny and family lineage lean to more something illegal. I think Mariah Dillard is one of the more complex characters in this entire Marvel Netflix uh, canon, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I'd probably put her on a similar level as Wilson Fisk in the Daredevil show. Someone who believes they're doing the right thing, but they're going pretty much the wrong way of doing it, and it's diving her deeper and deeper into madness as a result.
Or maybe in her case, pretty much forced to go down that route because it's like free will exists totally. However, you are what you know. And in many respects, like Mariah crime is all that she's ever really known, as we saw in the flashbacks a couple episodes before with her with her mother and her father and all of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, based on the previous episodes, has to deal with trauma too. Like her and her cousin, had quite an abusive childhood, and she never fully let that go. And the bad experiences of that is what's feeding her into the decisions that she's making in the present.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that with Luke Cage, we're doing like such detailed discussions of these episodes because I remember watching it when it dropped on Netflix. I'm like, all right, this is good. But now that like 7 years has passed, it's honestly a severely underrated little show.
Also, I feel like because some of the Disney Plus Marvel shows have been kind of underwhelming in comparison, like Moon Knight and She Hulk, especially, which was terrible. It's refreshing to see a Marvel related show that's been very consistent all the way through and that we're both highly enjoying it.
My one last like big hope for the MCU is they bring in some related because I know Daredevil is in She-Hulk, but I have not seen that show and I really don't plan to at this point. So I know Daredevil is brought back in there and we're getting a Daredevil Born Again show, but I my last like big pipe dream theory is with Secret Wars and now the multiverse coming into play. I hope that Daredevil proper and Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and we're going to get to Iron Fist eventually in this review series, and Jessica Jones, I hope they get some moments in the spotlight in the mainline MCU, not like in a splinter universe.
I'm hoping that's the direction they're going, especially since we're getting the Daredevil Born Again series. It sounds like it's might be a soft reboot of the Netflix show, considering some of the recent casting decisions and other decisions made. But I think it's still going to have the essence of what the Netflix show was with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, and they just announced John Burfall coming back as the Punisher. So at least they got that going for it. At least, my one hope for this show is it's at least good and it can stand out with the others with the series we had in the past.
The pieces of the puzzle are on the table. They are just not arranged properly, at least not yet. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. But what did you all think of Luke Cage Season 1, Episode 10? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. Well, Jacob, let's get into the main event. This is the April preview. Just before we start off, I think there are at least a couple movies on here where I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go out of my way to see that. Is that your thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually surprised. There were some. I was actually surprised there were quite a few movies on this list when I was watching the trailers. I'd never heard of them before, and I'm actually more interested in seeking them out eventually.
Yeah, well, let's dive into the movies if you are ready.
I'm definitely ready.
All right, let's kick things off April 5th with the Super Mario Brothers movie. This is coming to theaters. The story of the Super Mario Brothers on their journey through the Mushroom Kingdom. So, Chris Pratt aside, I'm actually looking forward to this one. I think since we got the crappy Bob Hoskins one, it's criminal that we have not gotten a proper Super Mario Brothers movie. And just from the look at the poster, it looks like Illumination is on the right track, Jacob. What do you think?
I definitely agree. I've never been super hyped for an Illumination film. I'm not on the Illumination hate train. They've made good movies, solid movies, but their movies have always been safe and disposable since they started. But this does look like a great step in the right direction. every trailer I've seen for this movie has looked great animation wise. It replicates, the look and feel that you expect in the Mario games. Yeah, I guess Chris Pratt. We'll see how his voice goes when we see the actual movie, but That's not that's not detracting me from actually really being excited to see this movie. As someone who's played a lot of the Mario games, more so Mario Kart than anything else, I think this movie is going to be an absolute blast, and I think it has a shot at possibly being one of the best video game movies of all time. Call me crazy, Ryan. I'm gonna go 5 on this one.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna go 4, but it's still a high bar. I think this has all the potential in the world to be, like you said, I mean, the bar for great video game movies is near the center of the earth. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But I think this could have potential to be something really special. Well, next up, also coming to theaters the same weekend, is Air. This is the latest directorial effort from Ben Affleck. It also stars him, follows the history of shoe salesman Sonny Vaccaro and how he led Nike in its pursuit of the greatest athlete in the history of basketball, Michael Jordan. So I've been on a bit of a private journey rewatching all of Ben Affleck's movies I've yet to see. I've watched Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and I rewatched Argo the other day. I love all three of those movies for different reasons. I have not seen Live by Night. I've heard it's mediocre at best, but I will cross that bridge when I get there. I'm giving this movie a 5. I love this trailer. I love it every time it pops up. So this movie has sold me.
Yeah, this movie looks good when it's a movie about the development of a shoe. That sounds so boring on paper, but I think because you got a quality director like Ben Affleck, along with him starring in it, along with his BFF Matt Damon, I think the movie does look riveting. And watching a trailer, it reminded me of The Social Network in a little bit of ways because The Social Network dived into a subject that could have been a flop on its release, Facebook, and yet you had Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher who worked together and made a really brilliantly crafted movie that people are still loving and hyping to this very day. So I guess Air could be this decade's Social Network if it's done in the similar vein. I don't know if I'm going to go 5 on it just yet because Social Network's not a personal favorite of mine, but I still think this is going to be a good one. I'm going 4.5.
Yeah, the cast in this is pretty loaded. You got you like you mentioned, Jacob, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but you got the Chris's of Messina and Tucker. You got Jason Bateman. You got Viola Davis as Michael Jordan's mom. This cast by itself should sell you. But then I don't know. I love this trailer song. I've been trying to hunt it down for days and I cannot find it.
Oh, I know what it is. It's the song is called Sister Christian. Came out in the 80s. I think I forget who sings it, but I know the song is called Sister Christian.
Thank you, Jacob. I will be jamming out to that when this recording session is
Yeah.
over.
Yeah,
But
yeah. My parents grew up during that time, so I've heard a lot of '80s music, and it's an absolute blast.
it's a great decade for music, but we'll talk about that another time. Well, next up, this is a streaming release. It's called Praise This. Let's bring the quality way down. Youth choirs gather together for a music competition. And no, I'm not making that up. That's the literal synopsis off of IMDb. When I was watching this trailer in the YouTube comment section, the highlighted comment was, so this is basically Black Pitch Perfect. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of seems eerily similar to that. I'm just gonna leave that be, but that's the comment that I read. What did you think of this one, Jacob?
Yeah, I think Black Bitch Perfect is a fair comparison to make. But honestly, the other movie that I thought of when watching this trailer, I don't know if you've seen this movie, Ryan, but Joyful Noise. You familiar with that one?
I have seen it. It's been a while, but it's Kiki Palmer, Dolly Parton,
And
I
Queen
believe,
Latifah.
yeah, Queen Latifah's in there also.
Yeah, to me, because that was doing for singing competition, like Christian singing competition or whatever. And to me, it felt like this was a cringier version of that movie. not that Joyful Noise was a great, amazing masterpiece of movie or anything, but at least Joyful Noise had heart, and I actually enjoyed the performances in that one. Watching the trailer for this movie, I'm like, this looks absolutely cringe. The humor didn't land. The characters just seem like shallow, stock stereotype characters to me, and it just didn't look like it just didn't look like a memorable movie. It just seemed like a checkbox movie of, oh, we're gonna take stuff from other movies that did it better and make a worse version of it. That's just what I felt watching the movie, or at least watching the trailer. I felt like I watched the whole movie watching the trailer as well, so I don't really care about this one. Um, I, I first wrote down 2 out of 5, but honestly, I'll probably just bump it down to 1.5. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I think I'll match you on that one because this did not look great, and it definitely looks like, yep, this definitely says streaming to me, and not the
Yeah.
good kind of streaming that gets nominated for awards, like the bad kind of streaming, to where it's got to get made, it's got to get out there for content purposes.
Mhm.
But next up is Showing Up. This is coming to theaters. It's the latest from A24. They've severely calmed down their releases from last year. A sculptor preparing to open a new show must balance her creative life with the daily dramas of family and friends in Kelly Reichardt's vibrant and captivatingly funny portrait of art and craft. This movie stars Michelle Williams, Hung Chow from The Whale, and Andre 3000, who, his considering he's the guy who sang Hey Ya and Mrs. Jackson as one half of the Outcasts, it's so crazy to think that he's in A24 movies now. But what did you think of this trailer, Jacob?
I don't know what to make when I was watching the trailer, honestly. You brought up the cast. That's pretty impressive. Michelle Williams and that actor from The Whale. But well, I was confused on the tone when I was watching the trailer. Like, you see these like A24 trailers, and they'll have like reviews from critics who see it early, probably from these film festivals. And I saw on the trailer it was like 4 stars, 5 stars, a brilliant comedy for the ages. And I was watching the trailer, I'm like, this doesn't look and feel like a comedy to me. It's weird. Like, I don't know where these critics are coming from. I don't know if it's the trailer is badly marketing the movie or what, but this was a weirdly put together trailer, and it didn't do anything to make me, I guess, care to see the movie unless the word of mouth is really good after the movie comes out, I guess. But just from watching the trailer, I didn't get anything out of it. But hey, the cast is pretty good and promising. So 2.5 just for the cast.
I'll go three. I think the cast is really strong and it looks really nice. I mean, it's an A24 movie, so it's going to look really pretty. So I'm going to give it a chance if it's anywhere close to my area. Well, next up is On a Wing and a Prayer. This is coming to Amazon Prime. After their pilot dies unexpectedly mid-flight, Doug Doug White, Dennis Quaid, has to safely land a plane and save his entire family from insurmountable danger. Whoever typed this IMDb synopsis, their grammar's off because Doug White's has to safely land a plane. It's like they forgot the family in there somewhere. But but this movie stars Dennis Quaid, Heather Graham, and Jesse Metcalf, among others. Um, this doesn't look super great. However, this premise intrigues me. I mean, you're literally like on your way home on one of those prop job looking planes, and then your pilot like either falls asleep or in this case dies in the middle of the flight, and you gotta land the plane. That is some grade A nightmare fuel.
Oh, definitely. The movie does look predictable though, because we've seen a lot of these like plain disaster type movies and stuff. This one looks like it has more of a faith based element to it, with the trailer being the miraculous survival and other stuff like that. But I think it looks effective enough, at least for the genre. I think it's going to draw in that crowd that's going to enjoy it and call it like a feel good movie and stuff. Dennis Quaid's a good actor. It's good seeing him and you know have more work and stuff, and along with Heather Graham. The movie doesn't look great, but I think it's going to be decent enough. I gave it a 3.5 just because I'm kind of intrigued by the story and the family aspect looks heartfelt at least.
I'm going to go three, and all three of those stars belong to Dennis Quaid because that dude is awesome. And if anyone can make that movie work, it's him. Well, next up is Paint. This is coming to theaters. In Paint, Owen Wilson portrays Carl Nargol, Vermont's #1 public television painter, who is convinced he has it all, a signature perm, custom van, and fans hanging on his every stroke, until a younger, better artist steals everything and everyone Carl loves. So, when I first saw this trailer for a preview I did with my friend Rachel over at Rachel's Reviews, I could have sworn this was the Bob Ross biopic that is sorely due. But no, it's like a This Is Spinal Tap meets Bob Ross kind of thing. I do not know what to make of this. This tone is weird. Jacob, am I alone in this?
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, I was confused too because they got Owen Wilson looking like Bob Ross. I thought when I first saw the dude, I was like, okay, is this Bob Ross? And then they said Carl. I'm like, okay, this is not Bob Ross. But the dude's kind of acting like Bob Ross. So is this movie trying to poke fun at Bob Ross or trying to villainize Bob Ross? I honestly don't know. I don't. I'm not. I'm kind of indifferent on Bob Ross, so I don't have like any real, I guess, opinion on the real guy. I just know him just because he's a big famous painter and stuff. However, the trailer did intrigue me still, and I like Owen Wilson. And if any actor that can make a movie this odd work, it's gonna be Owen Wilson and his warehouse. So I think it'll be it looks decent, even though I'm confused on what the movie is. I think it's gonna hurt some points, but hey, you got Owen Wilson. He's gonna make it work. I went 3.5 just on the Owen Wilson factor.
I'm going 2.5. This movie looks too weird to me. It's like if you're gonna make a Bob Ross movie, make a Bob Ross movie. Like don't make like a non-union legally distinct version of Bob Ross, but like he has the voice and the hair. I haven't watched a ton of Bob Ross in my life, but if you show me a picture of Bob Ross, I know what he looks like. So like what is going on? What genjutsu am I in? But anyway, let's move on now to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. This is coming to theaters. A crew of environmental activists plot a daring plan to disrupt an oil pipeline. I first saw this trailer because it was attached to Infinity Pool. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, these environmental activists really are making a difference by blowing up an oil pipeline, which would probably make things even worse. But again, that's neither here nor there. But Jacob, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I have mixed thoughts. The trailer, it looks very intense. It looks very thrilling. I think it looks like it's going to be a very well done movie, but I think I'm concerned on how it's going to cover the issue. I know, like the environmental stuff, it's like a hot topic issue for a lot of people, and I think especially one that's very divisive. I think it's going to either it's only either going to preach to those who agree with its message, and those who don't agree are just going to hate the film, and it will just add more fuel to the fire. I think for me, like you said, Ryan, you got these activists that are blowing up a pipeline, but I don't know how that's going to solve the issue. That looks like an act of terrorism to me. So I don't know how they're going to handle this issue, and if you can really root for these characters or not, like on a moral, ethical level. So I'm kind of mixed on the whole outcome of this movie, but it looks like it's well made enough. I'm kind of intrigued to see how it's going to go, honestly, but it's not one I'm clamoring to rush out and see either because I think it's going to be a very divisive movie at the end of the day. So I only went 3 just because on the technical merits.
Yeah, I'll go three as well. It could be fine, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. It's like it's like trying to reinvent the wheel by adding some corners to it. But I mean, it's a work of fiction. Let's just see what happens. But next up
Yeah.
is One True Loves. This is coming to theaters, and this is from BuzzFeed. Like BuzzFeed created a movie studio, and apparently, like this is their first movie, I believe. A woman is unexpectedly forced to choose between the husband she has long thought dead and the fiance who has brought her back to life. I have been thoroughly interested to hear your thoughts on this, Jacob, so go ahead.
Well, first off, the fact that BuzzFeed is making a movie just I think kind of shows how low the bar of quality the movie I think is going to be. It looks awful, honestly. I never liked the premise of a lost love, somebody that's thought to have died, and then she falls in love with somebody else, and the other guy's back, and there's like this crazy love triangle. I've never liked that premise in romance movies as it is, so this just looks really bad to me. I think the only saving grace that this movie's got, you got some good actors in it at least. You got Shang-Chi in it for crying out loud. I don't know why he's doing this because he should be making big money just from being in this awesome little Marvel movie. But hey, I guess you want to show off a different side of your acting skills, so props on you for that. Or you just want, I guess, some easy paychecks until the next movie, the Shang-Chi movie comes out. I don't know, but I don't know. This movie just looks so bad. I was rolling my eyes over the premise. It's been done to death, and BuzzFeed doing it looks like an even worse version of an already bad premise. So, aside from the cast, I'm going one. It looks awful.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It does not look great. I mean, I mean, it doesn't look great. Well, next up, coming to theaters is Renfield. This stars Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, the two Nicks. This is the IMDb synopsis is Dracula's henchman and inmate at the lunatic asylum. That is literally the IMDb synopsis. Man, IMDb has just been slacking lately. But basically, this movie is about Dracula's henchman and how he wants to leave his side and live a normal life, but Dracula just is not having that. I've had mixed thoughts on this movie ever since I heard it was being made because it's directed by Chris McKay, who directed the Lego Batman movie, the Tomorrow War, several episodes of Robot Chicken. So this is not a nobody here. And Nicolas Cage is a national treasure, and Nicholas Hoult is a very good actor. So I'm not killing the idea in my head. But we haven't had a proper Dracula movie in so long. Why does his assistant get a movie? And to add on to that, I just learned this today. Renfield is a sequel of sorts to Dracula, the Bela Lugosi version, the one in which Renfield dies. Why this movie exists, I have no idea. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a universal monster like nerd, so I care about this stuff more than I should. But Jacob, what did you think?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure about this one either. I think the movie looks offbeat enough to stand out, but to me, it's just kind of weird they're making a movie about the side character of of a classic monster. That just seems like a weird angle to take it. But it looks like Nicolas Cage is having the time of his life as Dracula, and if I am watching a movie, it's going to be mainly for that aspect. Although I don't think he'll have much screen time because they're focusing on the Renfield character. I'm mildly intrigued, but I don't think it's going to be an amazing movie or anything. Just for Cage, I'm giving it a three.
I'm going to, and I could be totally wrong. I do plan on seeing it, so hopefully there is not a rant in store. But just, I don't know. This movie is the definition of a weird flex. But let's move on to The Pope's Exorcist. This is also coming to theaters, inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriel Amorth. I hope I'm saying the name right. Chief Exorcist of the Vatican. The Pope's Exorcist follows Amorth as he investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries old conspiracy the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden. Why Hollywood tries to make the Exorcist movie a thing, I have no idea. but it's directed by Julius Avery, who directed Overlord, which is a severely underrated horror movie that I suggest everyone check out. It's starring Russell Crowe and Franco Nero. Franco Nero is the Pope in this movie. So I'm not killing the idea of the movie in my head, but I don't know. This trailer just does not sold me. It feels very CGI heavy, especially the boys like, bring me the priest. I'm like, please, come on now.
Yeah, I didn't give this a high score either because Hollywood's made too many Exorcist movies, and I think a lot of people are tired of the Exorcist movies. I think for a lot of people, the only good one is The Exorcist from the '70s, and even I'm not the biggest fan of that movie. Well, the Conjuring movies are good, but other than that, it's just not a genre that I'm like particularly lean in, uh, gravitate towards. Russell Crowe, however, I'm really fascinated by him being in this movie. The fact that he decided to star in a movie dealing with a tired trope. A lot of the horror elements didn't really land for me in the trailer, but Russell Crowe is really giving it his all. And I think, if anything, I think Russell Crowe might make this movie semi memorable. But because it's a tired trope, I'm not giving it that high of a score. But with Russell Crowe being in it, the highest I can go is a three.
I'll give it a 2.5 because of Russell Crowe. He's awesome. So I'll 2.5 and be done with it. Well, next up is Mafia Mama. An American mom inherits her grandfather's mafia empire in Italy. Guided by the firm's consigliere, she hilariously defies everyone's expectations as the new head of the family business. So this was directed by Catherine Hardwicke, who directed the first Twilight movie. Take from that whatever you want, but the movie stars Toni Collette, Monica Bellucci, among others. I think it looks decent. I don't know, like, Jacob, am I crazy?
Yeah, well, first off, I didn't realize this is from the same director who did the first Twilight. So thank you, Ryan, for educating me on that. uh, all that aside, it looks okay enough. Toni Collette's a good actress. The comedy aspect, it was kind of hit and miss. Some jokes in the trailer didn't really land for me, but others did. But the angle of like normal average mother character getting called into being the head of a criminal gangster empire, that's kind of interesting. And I hope this movie actually delivers on that in kind of a tongue-in-cheek comical way. So I think there's some potential, but I don't think it's going to be anything amazing either. So I'm going to go three on this one as well. And I promise it's not a broken record. It's just been an interesting little streak.
No, I concur with you. I'm gonna go 3 on this as well. Though one joke I was like, oh come on. I mean, it's an Italian movie, so of course, is the whole the Godfather reference that she does not get. I'm like, I bet you there's a scene in this movie where she watches The Godfather like and loves it. Like they're pretty much telegraphing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I'm right, but I'm also hoping I'm wrong about it. Well, next up is Sweetwater. Hall of Famer Nat Sweetwater Clifton makes history as the first African American to sign an NBA contract, forever changing how the game of basketball is played. The cast in this is pretty solid. You got Carrie Elways, Eric Roberts, Richard Dreyfuss, Jeremy Piven, and Kevin Pollak, and that's just naming a few. Jacob, what did you think of this one?
Um, kind of hit and miss on it because obviously you're dealing with a real story. You're talking about the first black man playing basketball. Of course, that's a historic moment in sports. But the movie it looked very generic and very disposable for me. I feel like we've had similar premises like this in other sports movies. So the movie didn't really look interesting in a way to stand out. But I think the story could be worth telling though. But I didn't get much out of the trailer, so the highest I could go on this one is 2.5.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that one as well. The movie kind of reminded me of 42, the Jackie Robinson movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. Well, next up is Evil Dead Rise, a twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of the flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of the family imaginable. This has taken a while, but I've grown to really love this trailer and hope that this movie is actually quite good because there have been some people like, it's not Evil Dead. Like, they've been to medieval times. Like, what legacy exactly are we defending here? But that's another story for another time. I'm gonna go four. I think this movie looks solid.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the Evil Dead movies when I started watching them. It's been a couple. I started getting into that series a couple of years ago. I haven't seen the remake yet, but I know some people say that's a hidden gem. This one intrigues me that they're really dialing into the scary aspects of the horror franchise that made the original Evil Dead such a good movie. And I'm really digging that direction, especially since it's a different director and it's not Sam Raimi. And the movie actually looks like it's going to have some really unsettling moments when it's, I think, the mother being possessed and she's trying to kill her daughter. I think that's going to be some like really crazy stuff. And I've only seen the trailer once, and I didn't have to rewatch it again because some of the imagery is stuck in my mind since I watched it. But one of the kills in the movie is going to involve a cheese grater. I think this movie is going to be insane as far as the horror aspect goes. And I think it's going to really stand out as one of the highlights and a really consistent franchise. So I hope this one really delivers and kind of reinvents the franchise in an exciting new way. I'm going to go 4.5 on Evil Dead Rise.
What's your favorite moment in the trailer or the freakiest moment to you? Is it the mommy's with the maggots now or the eeny, meeny, miny scene?
Probably I have to rewatch it again to give you a real opinion on it, but based on the way you're describing it, I guess I'll go with the eeny meeny miny scene.
Yeah, that one's that one is freaky, but hopefully that movie's a sleeper hit of the year. Well, next up is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. This is Guy Ritchie's second movie of the year, and as of many months. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant follows U.S. Army Sergeant John Kinley and Afghan interpreter Ahmad, played by Dar Salim. What did you think of this?
Considering, I mean, I like Guy Ritchie, but I'm not like a super huge Guy Ritchie guy. This one looks very different from most Guy Ritchie films. It looks very scaled back compared to most of his action films, and it looks like it's going to be more so a compelling war drama. But I'm still intrigued by it. I mean, you got one of the great living actors working that right now, Jake Gyllenhaal, involved in it. I mean, I think that's a big selling point that this movie's going to be real good. I think the story looks really good. The trailer, I think, might have given a little bit too much, but I still think it's a great story to tell nonetheless, with Jake Gyllenhaal leading the way. This one, I think, has potential to be a sleeper hit, I would say. I'm going to go 4 on this one.
You know what? I think I will go forward with you on this as well. I'm a sucker for a war movie, and especially one that deals with trauma. I know that sounds weird, but I like movies that kind of deal with that sort of thing. And Jake Gyllenhaal is an excellent actor. So if for nothing else, I'm looking forward to it for him. So hoping that he's at least good. Well, next up is Ghosted. This is coming to Apple TV Plus. Cole falls head over heels for enigmatic Sadie, but then makes the shocking discovery that she's a secret agent. Before they can decide on a second date, Cole and Sadie are swept away on an international adventure to save the world. This stars Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, is directed by Dexter Fletcher, who directed Rocket Man. And yeah, let's say Bohemian Rhapsody as well, because Bryan Singer was, well, somewhere else. But Jacob, what did you think of this?
Um, this movie actually looks really fun. I feel like the trailer might have given away too much though, because when I first saw that the movie was called Ghosted, I thought the film was going to go in a darker direction, but then it's turned into more so of an action comedy. But the movie looks like it could be another hidden gem. And like I said last month when we did the March preview, when we talked about Tetris, even though I don't have Apple TV Plus, they're like slowly churning out quality movies to the point where hopefully one of these days I'll bite the bullet and subscribe to the service just to catch up on some of these movies. Because this movie actually looks real promising. Like Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, it looks like they're having a blast. I do like the director attached. I also saw I had the same writing team behind Deadpool, so that's a good winning match right there. I think this movie actually looks really enjoyable, and I hope it's a hidden gem sleeper hit of the year, much like The Covenant. Uh, Apple TV Plus might limit it though, I guess, because it's only going to that streaming service. But I hope it's a good movie. I'm gonna go four.
I'm going to go 4.5. I really liked this trailer, and honestly, it could be a ton of fun. I mean, I like Chris Evans. I love Ana de Armas. So I think, like you said, this might be a sleeper hit for the year.
Yeah. And Ana
Well,
de Armas needs a movie that people can latch onto because the less said about Blonde, the better.
yeah, from the clips I've seen, that movie was not her fault. She was just doing the job that she was commissioned to do.
Yeah.
So, but moving right along. Next up is Beau is Afraid. This is yet another A24 release. This is the latest film from Ari Aster. Following the sudden death of his mother, a mild-mannered but anxiety-ridden man confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic Kafka-esque odyssey back home. So, Jacob, what say you? Because
This is like
I,
this was
I remember when I first saw this, I'm like, Jacob is going to flip his lid when he sees.
I don't know what to make because this is the first time I've seen this trailer. I will say with Ari Aster, I haven't seen Midsummer. I can't comment on that one, but Hereditary was a crazy experience, and that's all I'll say on that one. And this one looks pretty bonkers as well. I have no idea what the plot of this movie is going to be about, honestly. Like when I saw the trailer, I think it's just Walking Phoenix going crazy. That's all I could muster when watching the trailer. But I'm intrigued by its, I guess, original premise, whatever they're going to do with this movie. Obviously, there's good talent involved. You got the director of Hereditary. And I was surprised, yeah, besides Walking Phoenix, I was surprised that Nathan Lane is going to be involved in this movie. Like, I normally don't think Nathan Lane when it comes to psychologically driven character dramas. I normally think Nathan Lane is being in musicals and comedies and voicing Timon in The Lion King. So this is going to be kind of different role for him, and I'm kind of excited about that. So yeah, it's A24. I'm kind of hit and miss on them, but I'm intrigued to watch this whenever I get the chance. It looks like it's going to be a bonkers movie for better or worse, and so I'm going to go four on Boo is Afraid.
I'm going to go 4 as well. Another factor to keep in mind, this movie's 2 hours and 59 minutes long.
Oh, I did not know that.
Would you like your score to go down?
No, I'll still keep the four. I think if it was shorter, I might go 4.5.
Oh man, but I have seen Midsommar. It's not as good as Hereditary. If any of you have ever seen The Wicker Man starring Christopher Lee, it's pretty much a trippier version of that. So take of that whatever you want. But very well made, just not for me. But Beau is Afraid certainly looks interesting. That's what I will leave it at that. But next up is Chevalier. I hope I said that right. Based on the true story of composer Joseph Bologna, Chevalier de Saint George, that's all, folks. The illegitimate son of an African slave and a French plantation owner who rises to heights in French society as a composer before an ill-fated love affair. This is directed by Stephen Williams, starring Samara Weaving, Minnie Driver, Kelvin Harrison Jr., who I believe is from Hamilton. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the comments. But this movie is from Spotlight, or not Spotlight, Searchlight Pictures.
Like,
Thinking of the 2015 movie with Michael Keaton and Mark Ruffalo. But the movie actually looks interesting, Jacob. What say you?
yeah, I'm interested in this movie as well. Like I've never heard of this guy that they're basing the movie off of. I was looking in the comments, and the people that have heard about him say this guy lived a really good life and deserved more recognition. Apparently, this was the composer that inspired Mozart. Come to find out, this looks like a really decent story that definitely deserves more attention, and I'm interested in learning more about this guy through this movie. I don't think it's gonna I guess be like reinventing the wheel as far as like music biopics go, but I think just because I'm interested in the story, I think it looks like a decent movie to watch, and so I'm gonna go 3.5 on this one.
Yeah, I'll go 3.5 as well. It could look very interesting. So here's to hoping it's pretty good. Well, next up is Somewhere in Queens. Leo and Angela Russo live a simple life in Queens, surrounded by their overbearing Italian-American family. When their son Styx finds success on his high school basketball team, Leo tears the family apart, trying to make it happen. This is directed by Ray Romano. It also stars him, as well as Laurie Metcalf. Jacob, what did you think of this?
Yeah, this looks like a really sweet movie. Uh, Part of the movie, I think, because we're dealing with an Italian American family, I, for some reason I got a little bit of Moonstruck vibes, but more so with a family vibe, which I don't think that's a bad comparison to make because that was a solid movie as well, and that was a sweet watch. I'm intrigued that Ray Romano's directing a movie because I'm not sure if he's ever done that before. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but it's nice to see him, you know, try to direct a movie, and I hope he does a good job. And it's nice seeing him in a movie in general. So, yeah, I hope this one's a decent, enjoyable watch. It looks like a fun time. I'm gonna go 3.5.
I'll go three. I am actually a fan of Ray Romano. I'm more of a King of Queens fan, but I like Everybody Loves Raymond, the sitcom that like runs constantly on like TV Land and Nick at Night. Like if you pop on any of like the older comedy show sitcom networks, Everybody Loves Raymond is usually on there quite a bit. So happy to see Ray Romano get some work and happy to see Laurie Metcalf in pretty much anything. So this could have potential. Well, next up is A Tourist's Guide to Love. There was no trailer for this, so I'm just going to have to read the synopsis. An executive goes through an unexpected breakup, then accepting an assignment to go undercover to learn about the tourist industry in Vietnam. So, just based on that alone, Jacob, what did you think?
Yeah, I can't comment too much since there was no trailer. But yeah, that didn't really sound like one that would interest me that much. I'm gonna go just that plus no trailer. Just two.
Yeah, I'll meet you on that one and say two as well. Next up is Peter Pan and Wendy. This is coming to Disney Plus. Live action adaptation of J.M. Barrie's classic tale of a boy who wouldn't grow up and recruits three young siblings in London to join him on a magical adventure to the enchanted Neverland Island. So this is directed by David Lowery, who directed Pete's Dragon and one of the better live action Disney remakes that he's ever done. He's also directed The Green Knight, which is one of my favorite movies of 2021, and A Ghost Story, which is a severely underrated film from A24. So what we're dealing with here is someone who's had a solid track record with live action Disney remakes. I am a little skeptical on this one, though, Jacob. What do you think?
I'm very burned out on Disney remakes. A lot of them have not been that good, and even ones that I did enjoy. At the end of the day, if I had to choose between a Disney movie, it's always going to be the animated version because they're 10 times more memorable, and they got a lot more heart put into them than the live action films, which are mainly just unnecessary cash cows. However, I'm open to this. The trailer was pretty decent, I thought. It looks like it's not trying to like be a shot by shot remake of the animated Peter Pan, which is one of my absolute favorite Disney movies. Don't get me wrong. David Lowery directing it is a real interesting fit. I wasn't head over heels with his version of Pete's Dragon, but it was still well made. And I did enjoy The Green Knight, as weird as that movie got. So hopefully he'll do something out of this. I'm open to a new version of Peter Pan. I feel like this is a story that can resonate with any generation, but I can't go too high on it because I'm kind of done with a lot of these live action Disney remakes, and I'm ready for Disney to do something a little more inventive again in their live action output. So, uh, with all that said, I'm only going to go three because I think it looks like it's going to be an interesting version, but I don't think it's going to be as good as the original.
Yeah, I'll go three as well. I think it looks intriguing, but at the same time, and all three of those stars go to David Lowery because he is a very talented director. But it's interesting. I don't know if you heard the news, Jacob, about the Lady and the Tramp remake that Questlove is doing. And Rachel had a funny tweet where is like that Hollywood Reporter announced it, and then above that is like breaking Disney plans on layoffs in the next quarter. So like the agony and the ecstasy.
Actually, we already have a Lady and the Tramp remake. I think you were referring to the Aristocats.
That's the one. I'm sorry. It's late, y'all. It's nearly 11 o'clock Eastern when we're recording this, so my brain is like, whoo, and combine that with just a trivia recording and just all over the map. But yeah, that not really excited for that one.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, Questlove directed Summer of Soul, which that movie's fantastic. Give him credit there, but I don't know. Like I don't know about that one.
Yeah. I think if anything, if he was gonna do the Aristocats well, he would have to really amplify the soundtrack and make it very groovy and funky.
Yeah, I agree. Well, last couple ones. First up is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. This is directed by Kelly Fremont Craig, who wrote and directed The Edge of 17, which I think is a very good coming of age film. When her family moves from the city to the suburbs, 11-year-old Margaret navigates new friends, feelings, and the beginning of adolescence. This is based on the book written by Judy Blume. And this movie has Rachel McAdams, Kathy Bates, Benny Safdie, among others. So it's a good cast. The trailer looked pretty decent, Jacob. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not actually familiar with the book it was based on. Like the trailer was hyping it up as like the book that has defined generations for over 50 years. I'm like, I've never heard of this book. So but it looks like it's well made, made with care by the people who made it. I was looking in the comment section, and people liked that they were setting it in the past, like I guess the time frame of the book instead of modernizing it. I don't know if I have a real opinion on that, but that's just what I've seen in the comments. I like the cast. There were a couple stuff in the trailer coming of age wise that made me laugh. I don't think it's a movie I'll fully relate to because it's dealing with like the adolescence of girls, but yeah, it looks decent enough. I think it's going to be I think a well-meaning movie that's got a lot of heart to it. So I'm going to go 3.5.
Yeah, I think definitely not the target demographic, but I think for who it's aiming for, I think it's going to work. I'll go three on this one. Well, next up, and the last one, I believe, yes, is Big George Foreman, and it's a very long title, so we're just going to stick to Big George Foreman. The life and boxing career of George Foreman. So it's a biopic. This is directed by George Tillman Jr., who, relevant to this podcast, Jacob, is going to be directing Luke Cage season 1, episode 11. So next week
Wow.
we're going to be reviewing the episode he directed. but he has also had a hand in as a producer for movies like The Hate You Give. He also had a hand in directing Notorious, which was the Biggie Smalls biopic. Also Faster, a movie starring The Rock, which I really enjoy. So it's not the worst choice for a director, and it also stars Forrest Whitaker, so that's a good thing. What did you think?
Yeah, it looked like another standard biopic to me, but I'm kind of intrigued. I know I've heard of George Foreman, even though I'm not big in sports that much. I mainly know him because uh, the weird thing, the only real thing I know him in is he cameoed in a Home Improvement episode at one point, and I've seen some of his like the commercials he's been a part of, but I don't know much about his boxing career. I didn't know about some of the storyline based on the trailer of him having a near death experience and stuff like that. But I'm intrigued by that aspect of the story. I just don't know how well made it's going to be, and it looks like to me another standard biopic that just checks some of the boxes. But I guess because it's George Foreman, sounds like an intriguing guy. I hope it's watchable at least. So I'm going to go three.
I'll go three as well. This is being produced by Kingdom Story Company, and they've had a pretty solid track
Oh,
record with faith-based films.
I
They
didn't
produced
realize they were
American
producing
Underdog,
that.
which is one that I've really enjoyed. So here's to hoping. And I love the moment in the trailer at the end where they reference the George Foreman grills. And it's like, oh, well, it's weird. The fat guy is selling grills and make it thin. And I'm like, yes, George, that's totally what they're being used for. But it's gonna be interesting to see how this movie is received.
Okay. Okay. I changed my rating. You said Kingdom Story Company. That's the Irwin Brothers
Or no,
company.
wait, this is actually Imagine. So this is
Oh, Imagine. Never mind. Okay. I'll stick to the three. If it was Kingdom Story Company who did the Irwin Brothers are a part of, I would have bumped it up to a 3.5.
no, it's Imagine, but Imagine has done some good work too. So
Yeah.
I'm not ruling them out. But that's the April preview. There's some really good stuff coming down the way. Some like I don't think there's any true duds, I don't believe. Maybe outside the BuzzFeed one, but I don't think that's gonna get a ton of traction.
Yeah, there's actually looks like there's going to be some exciting movies. There's, like I said, the ones that I had never heard of, like The Covenant and Ghosted, look like are going to be good hidden gems. Boo is Afraid. We'll see how that goes. I think I'm more excited for Mario, Air, and Evil Dead Rise of all the releases coming out in the next month.
Yes, I agree. Well, what movies are you all looking forward to this month? Leave them in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. And Jacob, thank you as always. It is a privilege doing this show with you. Outside of the hangout you got with Joshua, is there anything else people can look forward to on your channel?
Um, yeah, I'm still uploading some reviews on my channel from my last What I've Watched live stream. I just did one on a TV film I recently watched from Peter Bogdanovich called The Mystery of Natalie Wood. Later this week, I'll upload my Celebrating Disney video on Chicken Little. Yeah, that was a rough rewatch. My next What I Watched live stream, I hope will be this Saturday sometime. I haven't figured out the time yet, but uh, I'll reveal it when I get there, and I'll be diving into some of my recent watches of movies that I've watched in the past couple of weeks. Of course, you feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah. Jacob's links will be in the description. Go give him a subscribe on all of those. And as for this channel, gonna have a John Wick 4 spoiler talk with Cody from the Brock Op side that should be up on the channel already. And then coming down the road, I'm gonna try and review the Dungeons and Dragons movie starring Jeremy Irons in honor of Dungeons and Dragons Among Thieves. It should be fun, hopefully. But that's coming down the road as well. And and all my social media will be linked in the description. Go give me a follow there. If you like the video, leave a like, comment your thoughts down below. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button, click the bell to allow notifications, so when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. For Jacob Martin, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you in the next one. You take care.